Pace University is investing in their School of Performing Arts. Downtown at 140 Williams Street, they recently renovated the entire building. It now houses various classrooms for audio voice work, wardrobe production, dancing, and acting. We interviewed the Dean of the Dyson College of Arts and Sciences, Nira Herman, and the Chairman of the department, Jorge Cachero.
The Dyson College is the College of Arts and Sciences, and so we do all of the arts and sciences, which includes visual arts, performing arts, humanities, social sciences, and sciences. And we also teach the core curriculum, the general education curriculum, to all of the undergraduate students. And we have some undergrad programs and some grad programs. And one of our departments is the Department of Performing Arts, that is Pace Performing Arts.
And if you could elaborate on that, please.
Sure. Pace Performing Arts is it's a department that's based on probably about 8 majors now, 8 major tracks in the performing arts. So we have musical theater, we have acting for film and television, we have something called the International Performance Ensemble, we have a commercial dance program that dances on the stage that we're sitting on, and we have a design program. And it's 600 students, so it's one of the biggest departments in the country.
And we are in what facility? This is the main, is this the largest of your theaters?
This is the largest of our on-campus theaters. This is the Schimmel Auditorium, and we do dances, and we do musical theater works, and we do plays in this theater.
Okay, now, does New York City have a, quote, performing arts school, and if not, will yours be the first? Please explain that.
There are 2 major schools in New York theater in the higher education. There's Juilliard, which is, when we talk about a performing arts school, we're talking about schools that combine really dance with theater. Those are, so it's the arts, it's the performing arts, or opera would be the other part of that equation. And so Juilliard has that, and the Tisch School is the other big school in New York City. Those are 2 schools that were, I think they're both from the 1960s. Juilliard might even be a little bit earlier than that. So this would be the first one in a long, long time.
Many decades, 50 years or so.
Right.
All right. And what made you want to, how did that decision go in? Why now?
Well, we started building the performing arts around 2000. Pace started because I've only been here since 2004.
All right.
And when I came, it was just beginning to show the first growth spurt. And it's the right location. You know, we're literally a couple blocks off of Broadway.
Right.
And it's the...
Your main campus.
Our main campus, yes, the downtown New York campus where we are now. And, well, we have 2 main campuses. We also have Pleasantville, but this campus is 2 blocks from Broadway. And the city is a big, attractive place for people who want to be in the performing arts. So the program started growing, and as they grew, we wanted to keep each of the programs very intimate. So as we got more and more students, we started adding more programs so that each of them would be chaired by a faculty member, and it would have, you know, about 100 students or less, depending on the actual area. We need fewer directors than we need actors, for example. And they would all have this very intimate experience, and we also were able to take advantage of everything New York has to offer, so that we have Broadway stars coming here all the time, but we also have all the backup people coming to the Master Series. You want to talk a little about that?
Right.
And how was your program before the interview? I think you do some unique things where the students are allowed to go audition. Why would a student want to come to your program versus Tisch or Juilliard? What are some of your unique offerings?
I think there are a couple of things. Just I want to go back a little bit to the school thing. One of the things that's changed dramatically at Pace is not just the numbers of students or the growth or location. It's that the school is a lot better than it used to be. And so what we're competing against now is no longer departments. We compete against the major schools in the country. So whether it's USC in California or Carnegie, they're all schools.
Is tuition a reason? It's getting too expensive in a lot of places, and finer students are coming to places they wouldn't traditionally go to before.
I mean, tuition is always a factor in recruiting students, but all these schools that we compete with are basically at the same tuition level. So it's not really about that. It's about the maturity and the quality of an institution. When you get to a certain point, you've kind of earned your stripes, and you are a school by quality, by the experience you provide. Going to the question about experience, I think we provide a unique experience in the United States undergraduate theater training landscape. When I got here 2.5 years ago, we rewrote all the curriculum. So every program has brand new curriculum. Musical theater program added acting curriculum that they did not have. Acting programs rewrote from scratch. We added an international performance ensemble. And we rewrote this because it was my feeling that most of the curriculum that addresses training for undergraduate students is based on a 1960s and 1970s model, that it really hasn't, it's guarded itself against television. It's guarded itself against the film.
Right.
It's voiceovers don't really exist.
It's
Commercial training.
theater-oriented.
It's very theater oriented.
And so now you're accepting, welcoming training.
We're
for film
welcoming
and
the
TV
really larger industry, and
Yeah.
we're run mostly. My community is run mostly by theater people. So it makes sense that it would be theater teachers teaching what they know, but that doesn't mean that the industry hasn't changed.
Yep.
It has, and it's changed radically. And I think we are at the forefront of that change, and I think that's why we've become incredibly, our applications have gone up from 800 to 3,000 in the last couple of years. That's a huge, huge
Are you
increase.
competing even with, say, a Google studio around the country where people can come in and use a Google auditorium, a YouTube auditorium? You know, like this whole new media, creating short films.
Well, we're competing in the sense, I mean, Google's an interesting thing, because when I got here, first thing I said is that the culture that we have to create has to be a Google-esque culture of pushing everything forward and of being as current as possible. About 14 kids in a class, so the training is very, very closely attached to the mentor.
And at the end, they have a bachelor's degree.
I was going to ask that. What is the degree?
All of the people that desire to be the front and center person on stage, the number of openings isn't
Right.
great. But if you give the students other skills that wrap around their professional skills in the performing arts, they can move into lots of careers that are related to the performing arts, that push the performing arts, that do all the planning and the financing,
right,
all that other, everything that goes into making anything, whether it is a play or a television show or a commercial. Lots of people doing lots of things behind the scenes, and we feel that we're preparing our students both to understand the artistic side of it, but also to have a much broader education. So it's not just going to a studio and film, it's really understanding what you're doing, why you're doing it, what the impact is.
I just found out yesterday that some of our actors are producing Bryan Cranston's piece on Broadway. So the crossover in the arts it's constant, because we all start out as actors.
Yep.
And then we evolve from there. So even those of us who don't go into acting training, we start out as actors in some way.
So you're realizing the degree is more useful if it's a full bachelor's degree. You're adopting more modern mediums.
Sure.
And
sure.
you're starting to get some prominent alumni.
We're a new school, so our graduating classes are really coming out now. Probably our most prominent alumni is Michelle Borth, who's on Hawaii Five-0.
Okay.
But we have people in the Book of Mormon. We have people all over Broadway. We have people making movies. Touring. They're just, we don't have
anyone
yet
in production or behind the scenes.
Producers on Broadway.
Yeah.
They just did another, I think, Glass Menagerie we had produced. There's just a lot of people who are.
The students go on auditions as their students year one, or
they do, and we're not the only school that does that. You're in New York. If there are auditions available, you go and take it. But we try to be very mentoring the process of seeing what's a good audition for them, how to coach them. The people who teach here are all people who are working professionals, and therefore they even pass on information on what's coming up.
And we have an extensive online program.
Sure.
So sometimes the students that are like on a touring production,
Right.
they can do a core requirement while they're touring.
Right.
how is that
just by doing
changing?
that online.
I was set to teach a adjunct course at NYU Business School, and I was talking back in 2009 about having it online, and they were resistant to that. And I've noticed since 2009 that Stanford and others are finally adopting that. What's your position on online classes? On one hand,
I think some of them, in our field, some of them fit perfectly, and others don't. I mean, there are core classes that fit. Some core classes would fit perfectly. The acting classes, the singing classes.
I would think that has to be always hands-on.
That has to be hands-on.
You can take finance
And
remotely,
it's also
but
an experience of how do you perform in front of an audience.
Right.
I mean, there's stuff
Right.
you do, alone to the bathroom mirror,
Yeah.
and that doesn't always translate back onto the stage, so you have to have that experience.
you have to have small classes and in-person classes. What's the point if you don't?
Individualized attention from someone who really understands how to get the best from you.
Right.
So that's what I think we offer in our classes, especially the performance-oriented classes.
Yep.
But the students also take things like theater history,
Sure.
dance history, and those are more conventional classes that could be done in a conventional classroom, or could be done online because it's readings,
Sure.
it's discussion, it's the kind of activity that you can do in an
Mhm.
online format as well as in an in-person format.
It's-
And because they also do our core curriculum, when they are traveling and they want to do an online course, that may be the time where they'll take that extra English course, the lit course,
Right.
the math course,
Right.
do all those
Right.
other kinds of courses so that when they get back on campus, they can really devote themselves to the ones that are on-campus courses, that they need to be on-campus courses.